Hi, it's Hope and welcome to a video. This feels so weird because it's been like over a week since I filmed anything. So this feels so weird. But welcome to the video. This is going to be June releases I'm excited for. Sorry for any background noises. My room right now is so hot. You've probably heard me say this before because my room is the hottest room in the bloody house. So there's fans on. But there is a total of, I actually didn't count before I started this, so there is 10 books on this list that I'm going to be talking about. These are just the ones that interest me or that are ones that I have heard of. There are probably so many other June releases that I would like but I just haven't heard of. So these are just 10 that I am interested in, and a few of these I do plan on reading in June, and one I've actually already read. So the first book I will have in the little corner up in one of these little corners the date that these are released in case I forget to mention them. But on June 1st, a lot of these are June 1st, but on June 1st we have Never Kiss Your Roommate by Philline, and this I actually just finished reading a few days ago. Never Kiss Your Roommate, we have Evelyn, who is going to this new boarding school along with a boy named Seth, who she meets on the train going there. And how do I freaking describe this? And Evelyn and her roommate do not get along at all. Evelyn's roommate Noelle is just kind of like whatever. This boarding school, there is this thing called the chitter chatter. So it's like high school, your classic drama website, and Evelyn and Seth kind of immediately get drawn into that because they're the new students of this year, and it is a story of Noelle and Evelyn kind of not hitting each other anymore, and of Seth and somebody that he becomes friends with named Jasper, kind of both of those two relationships forming. It is very queer. All of our main cast is queer, obviously, and this is a book that I loved. I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, it is really good in my opinion. Now the next one I actually know nothing about, yet I plan on purchasing it when I go to the bookstore in June, because we have to travel out of town in June. The town we're traveling to has a bookstore. So yeah, but that is One Last Stop by McQuiston, and if you haven't been around that long, you know that you would know that Red, White, and Royal Blue is my all-time favorite book, and it's by McQuiston. I've literally read Red, White, and Royal Blue 3 times. I'm going to be a 4th, because I'm planning on reading it in June. I've read that so many times. It is one of my most read books. So all I know is that the main characters are Jane and August, and literally that's all I know, and there's a little bit of a time travel element. So I'm going to read the description literally for the first time right now. For cynical 23-year-old August, moving to New York City was supposed to prove her right, that things like magic and cinematic love stories don't exist, and the only smart way to go through her life is alone. But she can't imagine how waiting tables at a 24-hour pancake diner and moving in with too many weird roommates could possibly change that. And there's certainly no chance that her subway commute being anything more than a daily trudge through the boredom of electrical failures. But then there's a gorgeous girl at the train, Jane, dazzling, charming, mysterious, impossible Jane. Jane with her rough edges and swoopy hair and soft smile, showing up in a leather jacket to save August's day when she needs it most. August's subway crush becomes the best part of her day, but pretty soon she discovers that there's one big problem. Jane doesn't just look like an old school punk rocker. She's literally displaced in time from 1970s, and August is going to have to use everything she tried to leave in her own past to help her. Maybe it's time to start believing in some things after all. Yeah, it's one character displaced at a time. I don't know, I'm just give me. I'm honestly debating pre-ordering it. I might, but currently I have no money in my bank account, so yeah, if I can manage to get some money before this gets released, I will definitely be a priority. If not, as soon as I'm able to get money, because I'm broke, because I spent all my money on books. Yeah. The next book is The Ghost We Keep by Mason Deaver, and I'm not like over the top excited for this one, but this is one that I'm definitely excited because I loved Mason Deaver's like debut novel, I Wish You All the Best, like a book that I loved so much. So I am excited to see how The Ghost We Keep goes. I actually haven't read the description since I added it to Goodreads, so like this is gonna be a while. I literally don't really remember what it's about, but let's just read the description because again, I don't remember what it's about really. When Liam Cooper's older brother Ethan is killed in a hit and run, Liam has to not only learn to face the world without one of the people he loved the most, but also face the fading relationship with his two best friends. Feeling more alone and isolated than ever, Liam finds himself sharing time with Marcus, Ethan's best friend, and through Marcus, Liam finds the one person that seems to know exactly what they're going through, for the better and the worse. This book is about grief, but it's also about why we live, why we keep moving on, and why we should. As somebody that lost both of my grandmas last year, I know grief. Like, actually, literally last week, we finally buried both of them on the same day, so grief right now is, like, high up on my list of things. So this one, I feel like I'm going to wait until I'm not on this wave of grief that I'm on right now, but I do definitely plan on reading it because I feel like I'm going to like it, and I also really am excited for this because Liam uses he, they pronouns, and very rarely in books, I'm trying to think of a book that I have read that uses a character that uses like two different sets of pronouns, and I can't think of any. Like, yeah, I can't think of any, so like that's gonna be not interesting, but that's gonna be like a good thing to read to normalize it more. You get what I'm saying? I'm like all over the place. Also on June 1st, we have Jay's Gay Agenda. Again, I'm going to be just reading the description for all of these because a lot of these I don't know much about. There's one thing that Jay Collar knows for sure. He's a statistical anomaly as one of the only gay kid in a small rural Washington town. While all of his friends can't stop talking about their heterosexual hookups and relationship, Jay can only dream of his own first, compiling a romantic to-do list for the things that he hopes to one day experience, his gay agenda. Then against all odds, Jay's family moves to Seattle and he starts his senior year at a new high school with a thriving LGBTQIA+ community. For the first time ever, Jay feels like he's found where he truly belongs, where he can flirt with very sexy boys and search for love. But as Jay begins crossing items off his list, he'll soon be torn between his heart and his hormones, his old friends and his new ones, because after all, life and love don't always go according to plan. And all I know is, like, besides that, is that it's like a hilarious book, and it's very sex positive, which is like good to see. And also, if you haven't noticed so far, all of these are queer books. There's a lot of queer books coming out in June that I'm excited for. But this one, I don't know, it's just kind of like a to-do list. Like, Jay has his to-do list of a bunch of queer things he wants to do, and I'm like, I fucking feel that. Like, but as somebody that comes from, like, a small town where the, like, queer population is, like, I can name it pretty much on one fucking hand that I know of, is, like, very relatable. So, yeah. The next is The Unpopular Vote by Jasper Sanchez, and again, just gonna read the Goodreads. I'm tired at this point. I shouldn't have filmed this tonight, but I had to. Vaseline on his teeth makes a smile shine. It's a cheap stunt, but Mark Adams knows it's optics that can win or ruin an election. Everything Mark learned about politics, he learned from his father, the congressman who still pretends he has a daughter and not a son. To protect his father's image, Mark promises to keep his past hidden and pretend to be the cis guy everyone assumes he is. But when he sees a manipulatively charming candidate for student body president inflame dangerous rhetoric that makes no sense, Mark decides to risk the low profile he has shared his father and insert himself as a political challenger. One big problem: no one really knows Mark. He didn't grow up in this town and he has few friends. Plus, the ones that he have aren't exactly with the in crowd. Still, thanks to countless seasons of scandal in the West Wing, these nerds know where to start. From campaign stops to voter polling to a fashion makeover, soon Mark feels emboldened to get in front of and engage with the voters, and even start a new romance. But with investigative journalists digging into his past, a father trying to silence him, and a bully front-runner who stands in his way, Mark will have to decide what matters most, perception or truth, when both are just as dangerous. So it's like Mark's campaigning for student body president, and having to hide the fact that he is trans and all of that. And I don't know, the second I heard of this, I was like, that sounds good, add to TBR. And when in doubt, by earlier in the video, you know that my all-time favorite book is kind of a slightly political queer book, and so I'm like, I think I might like this. And actually, I'm gonna switch this to 9 because one of these books, I just read the description and I'm like, it still sounds interesting, but I feel like I don't need to mention it. Ooh, I hate that. Okay, we're just gonna move on. We're just gonna move on past that. So yeah, this is now 9. The next book is 1,500 Miles from the Sun by Johnny Garza Villa. My brain forgot how to read. And this comes out on the 8th of June. I'm sorry this video is all over the place, but again, I don't know anything about this. All I know is I'm really excited for this. Julian Luna has a plan for his life. Graduate, get into UCLA, and have the chance to move away from Corpus Christi, Texas, and the suffocating expectations of others that have forced Jules into an inauthentic life. Then, in one reckless moment with one impulse tweet, his plans for a low-key 9 months are thrown literally out of the closet. The downside? The whole world knows, and Jules has to prepare for rejection. The upside? Jules now has the opportunity to be his real self. Then Matt, a cute, empathetic Twitter crush from Los Angeles, slides into Jules' DM. Jules can tell him anything. Matt makes jokes, the world seems conquerable, but when Jules fears about coming out come true, the person he needs most is 1,500 miles away. Jules has to face them alone. Then Jules accidentally propels himself in the life he's always dreamed of. And now that he's in control of it, what he does next is up to him. I don't know. That idea of one impulse tweet, but instead of like Twitter, it would be Facebook for me, because my Twitter knows I'm queer and I have no family on Twitter, but like I could see myself doing that on Facebook. And also, again, just like a town, yeah, you know, like, I don't know, I just like seem interested. It's like, I don't know, what in doubt, give me all the queer shit. If you haven't noticed, this list has been queer thus far. The next book is Scars by Dana Islay. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. And this one, I technically read the first few chapters when it was up on Wattpad, but then Dana decided to self-publish her book. So, like, I've read the first, like, I think it was maybe, like, 6 or 7 chapters that she put on Wattpad, and I loved it. So, essentially, we have Scarlett, who who somebody in her family tried to kill her when she was 18, so she fled and all of that. About 3 years later, I think it was like 3 years later, she ends up getting kidnapped by these 3 guys in order to kind of, because her family sent them to, and the 3 guys decide not to give her up to her family, to keep her as their own, and it is a reverse harem. And yeah, that's like pretty much all I know. I mean, I explained it differently than the description because I know more, because I've read the first few chapters, unless it's changed drastically. I sure as hell hope not. But like, I am excited for this because like, ooh, there was only one smut scene that I read in the first few chapters, but like, boy, it was good, and I'm excited to like read more. And like, I really did like these characters. These characters were really compelling, so like, yeah, I have a feeling I'm gonna like this, and this one I probably will read as soon as it's released, because I'm pretty sure it's being released to Kindle Unlimited. Do not quote me on that. I'm not sure, but I am very excited for it. Next we have Blood Crown by Elizabeth Brown and Torri. Now, again, this is a reverse harem. I'm just going to read the description because I actually know nothing about this except fantasy reverse harem. That's pretty much all you have to say. In a world where men rule and slavery is a common practice, being the only queen and abolishing slavery puts a large target on your back. Ashira is a queen in a world of kings. She took her crown and paid for it in blood. Not everyone is willing to let her rule in peace, however, especially not the neighboring kingdoms for whom human slavery is still very much in practice. Ashira continues to bleed for a crown while showing each kingdom that men aren't the only ones that can rule. But when a resistance against Ashira's rule grows, she's forced to realize that she can't create widespread challenge on her own. She'll need to win the hearts of the men who rule alongside her if she is to crush the resistance and the free of all humanity. Seducing them is easy. She's a succubus with the lethal curves and wicked tongue. But getting them to change their mind is the challenge, especially when she's faced with an unruly and violent vampire prince, an over-the-top dramatic fae prince, an angelic king, and a demonic assassin. They're all alpha males in their own right, each one thinking they know what's best for their queen. Unfortunately for them, she has no intention of listening. All I know, again, reverse harem, and that there's like smut in every chapter. I follow both of the authors on Instagram and both the authors on TikTok, and like everything I have seen so far, I'm just like, give me. I'm so excited for this. And the final book I'm interested in is The Dragon and the Queen by Kaitlyn Davis, and I am not describing this because it is the 3rd book in the Raven and the Dove series, and I suck horribly at this. I've literally tried explaining it like twice already in like separate clips that I'm going to delete, but like I couldn't describe it. But essentially our characters are like part bird, and their bird links to magic, and like, does that make any sense at all? I'll leave the Goodreads description for the first book in the description, along with all of these other books mentioned. But I have an arc of it, and I plan on reading it very beginning of the month so that I can get the review up before the 21st when this book is released. But yeah, those are all the books I'm interested in. This was probably way too long, way too rambly, way too blah, you get what I'm saying. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what June releases you are excited for so that I can check them out, or if any of these sound interesting and that you decide to add your TBR. Like, let me know. I love hearing things in the comments. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye!